Excavation Profits Podcast by Excavation Marketing Pros. Interviews with successful excavation and septic business owners, revealing how they market and grow their business in today's economy. Hear directly from the most successful leaders in your business and discover what they're doing to keep their phone ringing, equipment running, and businesses booming. Now your host, Scott Andreessen.
All righty. Welcome, everyone, to the Excavation Profits Podcast. I'm your host, Scott Andreessen, and I have a super special, extraordinary guest, Mr. Tom Reber. Tom, I'll announce you as best I know how, speaker, podcaster, business coach, founder of the Contractor Fight, HGTV host, and I want to say fine lover of tequila. I read that somewhere. Have I missed the mark, or is that pretty close?
There you go. You nailed it, man. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much. So
yeah,
this is going to be a very, very valuable session for our listeners. And can we just start off with you telling a little bit about your background and what led you to start the Contractor Fight?
Yeah, absolutely. I sold my painting company in 2012 and wasn't sure what I was going to do. And somebody tapped me on the shoulder one day, asked me to speak at some local event outside of Chicago where I was living at the time. And I spoke at this business event about how to grow a business or something like that. And it helped a bunch of people, and it really lit the pilot light for me, if you want to call it that, to where, I thought I was like, I think I found my next thing. And so I just started speaking and helping and coaching here and there. That was around 2013, 14. And then 2015, I started our podcast. 2017, I rebranded everything to the Contractor Fight. And we're just trying to help people run strong businesses that, allow them to stop stealing from their families, time, money, memories, this and that. The grind of a business owner, and it's easy to put everyone first and give yourself and your family scraps, all in the name of trying to grow the business. And so that's what we've been doing since almost a decade now.
Very cool.
Yeah.
I want to unpack some of that for our listeners in a little bit. Can you tell me about what were some of the challenges you faced when you first started out in the contracting industry as a painter?
Well, I was just a painter. I wasn't a business guy. I didn't know a thing about business. The only thing I did well was I was able to generate work. I'm very, what do you want to call it? Very focused and committed on prospecting, building relationships, shaking the bushes, if you want to call it that. And, but I had no clue early on how to make money, because like so many contractors, I was busy and broke and couldn't figure out how to get over that hump. And it was a grind, because I didn't know my numbers. I priced off the going rate. I didn't know what sales was. I thought sales was just you go out there and you scribble stuff on a clipboard and you say it's going to be $8,000, and that's just order taking. That's not sales. So there were so many things. I didn't know the first thing about marketing, just so many things. I knew the trade and, was solid at that. We did great work, and everybody was making money but me. And that was the biggest struggle there, because I was just in my own way. I'd put the time in, I would obsess over spray tips and different tools and products and stuff, and thinking that was all about the business, when in reality, it's a totally different skill set running a business versus doing the actual work.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Now, I read that you were also in the military, so thank you for your service. How has that helped you with your approach to business and leadership?
I was in the Marine Corps. I was fortunate to have a couple of my high school football coaches who were also Marines. And so I, all through high school, I was kind of exposed to that mentality of, focus and discipline and doing things at a high level. And I did everything at a high level except school. I hated school. And, the only thing that kept me eligible was football. And so, but, going in and out of the Marine Corps and leading men there, and taught me a lot about how to really connect with different types of people. You've got every different race and different backgrounds and economic status. And, there's a lot of juggling of personalities and getting to know people. And that really served me, I think, pretty well in what I do now, and, what I did with our painting businesses. And, that, and I would say just having being able to identify a clear target. The worst thing we could do is start shooting out our marketing messages or whatever it is if we're not clear on exactly what we're trying to accomplish. And I think that's something that was really picked up in the Marine Corps, that, you want to be pretty accurate of what you're putting your crosshairs on. And so I think a lot of the discipline, the clarity, the focus, and then just knowing that success is inconvenient. Nothing good comes without getting punched in the face a few times, along the journey. And if you're not getting punched in the face building your business, you're probably not setting big enough goals and holding yourself accountable to the actions each day. Success is, nobody gets to the top of the podium and they have their arm lifted in victory that was like, yeah, this was pretty easy. You stand up there. That's why you see so many athletes break down and cry when they win the gold medal or something, because they know the journey that it took to get there, and it finally paid off.
That's very well put. I know that your organization has helped, is it accurate to say thousands of contractors at this point?
It's hundreds of thousands at this point. Yeah.
My God. Okay.
Yeah.
And so that type of knowledge, I would have to say you've seen it all, heard it all. What are some of the most common mistakes that you see contractors make, and how can they avoid them?
Well, first, right out of the gate, you got to know your math. We have a large group coaching program called Battleground, and 99% of the people that come into that thing don't know their numbers, meaning they have no idea what it costs just to be in business for one day. And I'm not even talking your field, right? Your field labor and materials and stuff. That stuff you're only paying if you're doing work. You have other bills in the business. You have your salary and your office people and your marketing and your rent and truck payments and this and that, So, if you're somebody who, let me get my calculator, you got 25 grand a month in overhead, divided by the number of working days in a month, which is usually somewhere around 22. I mean, it's almost $1,150 a day, that you got to keep just to break even on a daily basis, above and beyond, what you're paying your people in the field and what you're charging for them, So if you take that $1,150 and you have, say, 2 field employees, you divide that by 16 hours in the day, it's $72 an hour just to pay for the overhead. So I think, numbers, number one, is the biggest thing, is people underestimate what it costs to be in business. And then what that causes is it causes this situation where you're continually playing catch up. You're never making enough money because you're not charging appropriately. And so I think number one, you gotta have confidence in your numbers. Number two, you really have to learn how to connect with people in the sales process. Like I alluded to earlier, most contractors go out and they just, they go technical on people. Like, oh, what do you want to do to this side of the hill or whatever, and you go technical, but you're not really digging into what we call the motive of why somebody wants to do the thing. Whatever the thing may be, there's always a deeper emotional reason. And when you can tap into that, it's game over in the sales process, because you're going to show up and communicate and connect with them in a way that your competitors never will. That's why we see people come into our program that are doing $500,000 a year at a 22. I just interviewed a guy named Derek the other day. He's been in our program for about a year and a half. He came to us, he was doing $500,000 a year, 22% gross profit, which is pathetic. And within 12 months, he was doing 2.5 at a 44%. And the main gist of that were the two things I've talked about here. Number one, he got solid on his numbers. And number two, he learned our sales process and he implements it daily. And those two moves alone are pretty much responsible. Now listen, this guy, Derek, he's a highly disciplined dude. He's a bodybuilder. He knows how to be focused and disciplined. And so like knowing what to do and then implementing those things are two different stories, right? We can have this conversation all day about all these things that you can do and ways that you can improve your business. But if you're not going to get up every day, boots on the ground and do the shit that you have to do, you're going to be in the same spot in 6 months or a year from now because you're not doing the do. But yeah, so it's, you learn how to connect, you learn how to, you know, your numbers, the numbers don't lie. That's the other thing, this calculator thing that we all have, I could go 9 times 9 is 81 all day. That's a fact. Nothing changes that, right? And it's the same with the numbers in your business. The numbers tell a story. They're unemotional. They don't care how you feel about the numbers. They just tell you the truth. There's no opinion there. And so, we always encourage people that, start job costing the projects that you're doing, compare your estimated times versus your actual times of doing the projects and the materials or whatever supplies you had to get. And then you learn from that and you make tweaks as you go. And that's how you win faster in the money department.
Mm-hmm. So you identified a couple key factors there that they need to know their numbers. They need to know their sales process. Mm-hmm. And you mentioned Derek, you need to take massive action like him and have focus. When we talk about focus, how important is mindset when it comes to achieving success in business, would you say?
I've said for years that I believe 90% or so of success in business is literally what happens between your ears. And the rest is math and marketing and your messaging and stuff. So, if you don't get squared away with the 6 inches of real estate between your ears, you're going to have a hard time winning because it's you're surrounded by contractors that don't know their numbers and they make every excuse under the sun about, these are good people. They're working hard. I'm not taking it, but they're like, well, you can't charge that because of the illegals. You can't charge that because of my industry or my town that I live in and all this other BS. And that's what it is. It's BS. You have to learn to reframe these things and tell yourself a different story because we always get more of what we focus on. All right. So for instance, many contractors right now are like, oh, I can't find any good people to work. Nobody wants to work. Everybody's lazy, blah, blah, blah. I've been hearing that for years when the truth is, if you pull back and learn to reframe that and flip it and go, you know what, up until now, I've struggled finding the right people for the team. That's a fact, right? The people I've talked to haven't been a good fit for the team. They haven't lasted for whatever reason, but I'm excited to see who's coming next. I'm excited because I know in this town of 500,000 people that I live in, I know there's at least 3 or 4 people that would love to work for my company. So you flipped it, you reframed it. Now your focus is on that. Our reticular activating system in our brain, the RAS, is designed to show us evidence of what we focus on. And so we have all these thoughts every day. Most of our thoughts are subconscious, right? Mm-hmm. And I almost said unconscious, but you got these subconscious thoughts that we're just programmed with through our life. It could be things like, oh, if you make a lot of money, you must have stole it from somebody or ripped your customers off, right? I just want to give a fair price to my customers. You program, from your upbringing, the people you hang with, your worldview, your life history, all those things tell you stories every day. And you need to learn to take control of that self-talk and flip it so that it serves you. And speaking of mindset, a lot of people focus on their problems. I have problems. I've got a shit ton of problems in the businesses that I run right now, just like you do, just like anybody listening to this. All right. The difference is I've learned to focus more on my goals and what I want and where I'm going than on my problems, because if you focus more on your problems and what you don't have, you're going to get more of that.
Yeah, that's so true. Now, when you just mentioned goals, so what role does goal setting play in personal and professional development, would you say?
It's everything. We have to know where we're going. Like I said earlier, listen, when you start the business, when I first started my very first painting business, my goal was to feed my family, right? That's it. I had no sales goals. I had no marketing goals, none of these other things. I didn't know what gross profit was. I really didn't know a thing. It's crazy how ignorant I was, but I was fanatical about feeding my family. And so I was focused on that every day. And what did I get? I fed my family. So I always encourage people, like, really look at this business thing that you're building and go, how do I want it to serve me? What do I want it to look like? What people do I need to put in place to help me get there? And when you're focused on these things and you have absolute clarity and you look at them every day, like we encourage our people in our community, like, literally just, guys, open up your app or whatever your goals are written down in the book that you carry around or whatever, and just read them every day. Read them out loud once a day, because they stay top of mind, because it's super easy to get hijacked by all the different things in business. But, listen, whether it's relationships, your health, your money, your business, hiring somebody, you always have to have a clear target, or else you'll probably, I use the analogy, like, you got the ladder leaned against the wall and you're working hard to carry all the heavy crap up to the top. And then you get to the top and you realize the ladder was leaning against the wrong wall. Okay. And I see that happen all the time, where people are working their tails off. And then when they get where they think they wanted to go, they're really not where they wanted to be, because they never got that absolute clarity of the goal of what they want their life to look like. How do they want to spend their time? What days do they want to take off a year? How much money do they want in their bank account? Every bit of these things in business that we're talking about here, they're all achievable. And all you got to do is get clear on it, get focused, reverse engineer the steps, and then be disciplined each and every day. And that leads me to the last point on goals here. Most people don't reach their goals. Every year, New Year's resolutions come and people are going to do this through the year, and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do this. And by February or March, like 90% of the people have tapped out, right? They lost focus. They're not doing the thing anymore. And that's because they're looking at the big goal, but they're not focused on the things that are going to get them to the goal. I call that winning the moments. Every day, say I want to lose weight. Okay. If I want to lose 20 pounds, every day I'm going to be faced with these micro decisions along the way through the day. Eat the donut or eat the apple. Go for a walk or turn on Netflix, right? It's hit the snooze or get up when I said I was going to get up. And every time that you win one of these micro moments throughout your day, you're compounding toward your success. And every time that you don't, you compound away from your success. So if you want to go big, there's a saying, if you want to go big, go small, right? You want to achieve great things, work on those small, seemingly insignificant things each and every day and be consistent.
I like that. That makes a lot of sense. And it's like basically the sum of your life adds up to the decisions you make. Is 100%. How do you balance the demands of running a business with personal life and that self-care?
Yeah. Well, we have a framework. And let me say this, on the home front, family, spouses, those types of things, relationships, you can't expect the people under your roof to read your mind, right? You have to communicate. So if you're going into a really busy period of time in your business, like right now, we got about 72 days until our big event in Denver called Mile High Profit Summit. And we are like fanatically all hands on deck right now doing that, right? And so my wife knows, she knows that, it's showtime at this point. Like, I'm grinding and I'm crazy, but I communicate, hey babe, the next couple of weeks, I'm going to be really nuts with this, and this, and this. Let's go ahead and plan some of our walks, our date nights, and some of those things. So let's get them on the calendar so you don't get my scraps. And that goes back to our framework. We call it strong you, strong home, strong business. If you drop a rock in the water, where the rock hits, that's a strong you. So when you're planning your days right now, you guys, you want to make sure that you're getting the oxygen that you need personally. That could be sleep, working out, reading, feeding your brain, whatever it is, going for a walk, getting in nature. I don't care what it is. You do you. Take care of you. Then the next ring out that ripples out from that rock is your strong home. Okay. That's why I talked earlier, like, I make it a point every day that the queen and I, that's what I call my wife, we call her the queen. All right. Mm-hmm. We have time. We have some sort of a date every day. We have our time every day. It could be 5 minutes. It could be 5 hours. It doesn't matter. The point is that it gets scheduled first and we don't blow it off. And then after that, then I fill in with the business stuff. And sadly, for many years, I had it flip where I'd put the business first because I love my family and I'm trying to provide. But in the process, you steal from them and you give them your scraps because, it's so easy to just get hooked on this business shit 24/7 and never turn your brain off. So, several years ago, I really just was intentional about reframing this and going, I'm going to work on me first because my family life is only going to be as strong as I am. And then my business is only going to be as strong as myself and my family life is. And so that's kind of how we came up with that framework that we coach and train people on.
Mm-hmm. And it really sounds like, definitely you're not reactive. Your days sound very choreographed, scheduled, on purpose, of course, but that is helping to propel things forward the way you want them to go and for your students as well, right?
Yeah. And listen, I get hijacked every day. Every one of us gets If you're a small business owner, you get hijacked. If you're a parent, you get hijacked. If you're a human being, you get hijacked. We all have a plan. Like Mike Tyson says, everyone has a plan to like punch him in the face, so you can map out intentionally your whole day and your whole week. All right. But that you're going to get throat punched along the way. And so that's why we always encourage people like do the things that are the most important, crucial things each and every day as early in the day as you can. And then it opens up for you to be reactive to whatever else happens. We all have those things. I recently started another painting company here in Colorado Springs for many different reasons, but it's called Simplify Painting. And I have my plan, but you know how it is. Guy calls from the job site, hey, we ran into this issue. Now you got to be reactive. You got to go into problem solving mode. We all have that, but that's why when you can do those crucial activities that are going to get you to the big picture goals that you have, do those early in the day, check those boxes. It could be somebody listening to this like, I need to do a better job of marketing on social media. Well, then get up a half an hour earlier. And while you're having your coffee, schedule a few posts for the day and then close your phone and go to work. But at least you did the thing that's compounding you towards the stuff that you say that you want. And, it's a grind. And I think the other thing is people put too many things on their to-do list each day. And there's a book many years ago called The One Thing that I read. And then I ended up interviewing the CEO of their training company several years ago on my podcast. And the way he said this, it just always stuck with me. He says, if something is going to end up on your to-do list or on your calendar, it has to audition to get there. Like, if you think about it that way, you guys, like, not everything deserves your time. And so that's back to the clarity and the goal setting. What do I really want? All right. Each day, you should have just maybe 3 to 5 things that are crucial actions, and you do them in the order of importance. You don't move to the second one till the first one's done. And if you could build that habit, then let all the hijackings come, because at least I did these things that I said were the most important things that need to be done on a daily basis. Right.
What are some of the current trends that you're seeing in the contracting industry around, I know you guys coach a lot of different niches, but what are some of the trends that you see overall that contractors should be aware of?
Well, right now, July, and this is go time for contractors. So one of the trends I see every year is when they get into their busy season, they stop building their brand. They stop marketing. And then they wake up a couple months from now and they don't have any work on the calendar. And then they're going into the winter months and now they're starving and they can never get off this cycle, because the trend, the pattern is, oh, I'm busy. I think I'm going to be busy forever. Instead, this goes back to, what are those things I need to do each day that are going to move the business forward. And one of those is lead generation, building your brand. And so that's a big issue that I see every year. Another one right now in 2024. Listen, we're in an election year. I'm talking to a lot of contractors. We got crazy inflation. There was a guy the other day did a TikTok. I don't know if you saw it or heard about it. He went to his Walmart.com order history from 3 years ago, and he looked at this order and he ordered the same exact order today, and it was almost 4 times as much.
Wow.
Okay, in 3 years. Okay, so listen, these are the field conditions, right? Whoever's in the White House, whatever the inflation is, whatever the housing market's doing, and all this other stuff, we don't have any control over that, right? So quit making excuses about all that for being the reason that you can't grow your business, and control what you can control, right? So right now I'm hearing people are having to work a lot harder to sell and build trust with people, because that's what it is. Consumers are either not doing the project, or they're scoping it way back. We had one of our members lost 2 projects totaling $1 million that people put on hold until after the election because they want to see what's going on. Okay. I have no control over other people's fear, and they're dragging their feet on things. All right. So we just have to refocus. Go, okay, I'll keep in touch with them. We'll keep the relationship warm. Let's go. Let's fill the calendar. Right. And not be consumed by what's not going right. That's a trend all the time, is we all have, there's always field conditions in the world in business. If 2 football teams are playing and it rains and there's 6 inches of mud in the field, we both got to play in the mud. Mm-hmm. It's no different with your business. Your competitors have the same issues that you're having. It just might be at a different scale, or in, different areas of the business. Every business has cash flow problems from time to time, and profit issues, and recruiting, and, lead flow issues. I mean, I was talking to a client, they generally have 150 to 200 leads a month. And right now they're about 80 to 90 a month. Now somebody smaller is like, God, I'd love to have 80 to 90 leads a month right now. Right. But right. In the scope, or the context of this larger business, they're going to go broke if they only have 80 leads a month. So our coaching and the workshop that we did for them was all about, what are the things that you and your team have control over, that you can check those boxes every day that are contribute to getting that phone to ring. And, so patterns, there's always going to be ebbs and flows in business. And I think, I always come back to, I try not to pay a whole lot of attention to what's going on in the world. I know that sounds weird, but I'm just going to do me. I'm going to mind my own business, meaning my business, and, do the things that are moving me closer to the stuff that I say that I want to accomplish.
Yep. That makes sense. And you did mention, we are in an election year. And so that's a real thing. And I've heard that excuse, I want to wait to see what the president's going to do, and yada, yada. Mm-hmm. How do you see the future of the contractor industry evolving, and what can contractors do to stay ahead?
Well, we're not going anywhere. Number one, last I checked, AI can't do a lot of the things that we do in the trades, right? And their technology is always going to be a thing, but there's always going to be a need for contractors, the men and women in the trades doing the stuff that we do. So I truly believe that those companies that get really aggressive with building their brand, investing in their marketing, training their people, be the type of company that is attractive to other people, whether it's a client or a potential employee. Okay. If we could be more, and that's why we talk so much about money and building relationships and having strong marriages. I mean, our event, your spouse comes half price because we want your spouse in the room. Okay. Because we're so family focused, that focus on your family, love up on them. Don't give them your scraps. Make the tweaks that you need to make in your business to make as much money as possible. Okay. Making money is not a bad thing. It's the rules of the world. We need money. Life's easier when you have money. It's that simple. And so, when you're fanatical about those things, you're uncommon, because in a year like this, in a season like this, in business and in life, most contractors are taking their foot off the gas. They're falling prey to those fears and, oh, nobody's spending money. And this, people are always spending money. There's always somebody out there that'll pay you, what you need to make to do the project that you're going to do. You just got to be on the attack. And, during the last recession, my old company that I had outside of Chicago, we stepped on the gas with everything during that period. And we were actually more profitable. We did less revenue, but we were more profitable because we were stepping on the gas when most people were taking their foot off the gas and waiting to see what's going to happen. I talk a lot about being on the hunt, being on the attack, being proactive about communicating with your past customers and your database, and you should be prospecting on a regular basis. You should be getting, our rule is get a 50% gross profit on your projects, because the higher your gross profit is, the less work and less leads and jobs that you need to break even, right? So who doesn't want to work less and make more money, right? And that's where the head trash comes with I can't charge that in my industry. That's not the going rate. My competitors are all. Give them a reason to want to work with you. And you do that by building your brand, learning how to connect with people in the sales process, and being confident in your numbers. You do those things and you go hard when everyone else is backing off right now. I promise you're going to win. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy. You're going to raise your hand at the podium and you're going to be like, damn, that was a hard one. Right. But nothing great happens without a tough journey.
What advice would you give a contractor starting out in their business?
First and foremost, accept and embrace the fact that you're no longer a craftsman. Okay. Yes, you still work on the tools. Yes, you still do the thing, but your number one role is not that. Your number one role is being a business owner. And so, if you look at the years and the training and the education and the investment of time and money and all those things for you to develop your skills, like I was a painter, right? So like all those things in money and time that I learned to be good at the craft, I got to take that same focus, effort, and commitment to learning the craft of running a business. So number one, I think you have to embrace that I am no longer just a painter or excavator or whatever I am. I'm literally a business owner. And the number one role of running a business is number one, to meet a need. And number two, it's to make money. That's it. Okay. We don't pay ourselves in compliments of how beautiful the work was, right? This is how we keep score. Number two, whether it would be, obviously I drink my own Kool-Aid here on the Contractor Fight. I think we have the best thing going on for contractors on planet Earth. Okay. But whether it's us or somebody else, I think you need to hire a coach. I think you need to go to industry events. You need to surround yourself. You need to change your environment, because most of us, we live on an island in our businesses. And who do we hang out with? We hang out with the same old people doing the same old things with the same old negative mindsets. They're good people. Again, I'm not ripping on people, but my life changed drastically when I started putting myself into higher level rooms of people that were thinking different about money, about discipline, about marketing, about leadership, about the numbers of the business. These different things, they rub off on you. So that's why you should you work it into your budget, for coaching and events and whatever it is. Read books, podcasts. You gotta be a sponge, and then you gotta go do the damn work.
Mm-hmm. If you could go back in time, what would you do differently in your career?
Everything I just said. Because I thought it was about the work. And of course the work is important, needs to be high quality. All right. But I didn't focus on being a business owner and doing differently. I think I would have learned how to take control of my negative self-talk earlier on. And I just didn't know what I didn't know. That's all of us at some point in our life. And then once I was exposed to just a different way of reframing your negativity and the power that has over you, I was like, man, I got to do something about this. So that's number one. Number two is I didn't trust my gut enough. I've had partnerships in the past and business deals and some things where I ended up hosing myself because I didn't fight for what I believed was right. I didn't follow my gut on certain things. I didn't trust my instincts. And I really believe that we all have instincts and we need to trust those instincts. And, whether it's, we don't trust ourselves because of our lack of experience, whether we don't trust ourselves because we're a people pleaser and we don't want to upset people if we tell them the truth. I could give hundreds of examples of how I screwed that up over the last several decades.
What books, podcasts, resources have had significant impact in your career, and why?
Every time somebody asks me about a book, I'm caught off guard because there's so many. I read
I know that's a tough one.
I read like a book a week, So right now I'm rereading Relentless by Tim Grover. It's just a great book on your mindset and what it takes to win. For me, I read the books. I used to just read and consume and listen to podcasts, like whatever it was, I just listened to it, right? Or read it. Over the last few years, I've gotten pretty disciplined with, I'm not going to read or consume something that isn't supporting what I'm currently working on. If that makes sense. Mm-hmm. So if I'm not wanting to learn how to be a better marketer right now, then I'm not going to consume any marketing stuff because it just takes up bandwidth, right? I'm rereading Relentless for probably the third time right now, because every now and then I'm just like everybody else. Sometimes my optimism starts to wane. Sometimes I'm fatigued from the grind, and so I needed the reminder. My coach literally a week ago was like, I think you need to read it again. And I'm like, he brought it up and I'm like, yes, coach, done. And that afternoon I started reading it again. See, and that's the other thing. Like, you got to do what you're coached to do. You got to trust, right? That your mentors and coaches have, the best intentions for you. But, there's all the typical business books that I could list, right? There's Traction and all these other things, but, for in the E-Myth or whatever, I've really been inspired a lot by, there was a book called, Ryan Holiday wrote it. It's about the Stoics or something. I can't remember the name of the book right now, but it's a really good read just on personal discipline and consistency. There's a book by Cameron Haynes. He's a bow hunter. He wrote a book called Endure. That's just, man, you just see how this guy operates at a different level, his preparation. And it's why he's the best hunter in the world. And I'm not even a hunter, but like just taking that and going, how can I apply this in my life, my health, my business, my relationships? That he never wastes a moment to prepare because he knows that if he pushes himself harder, that it'll pay off when the hunt is actually happening. He's in such good shape. He can go and climb and access places none of the other hunters can, which the net return on this is he gets the biggest game more consistently.
Well, and if I'm understanding you right, I like how you put it, is you're recognizing constraints that you might be feeling or having, and then you're finding a book that serves that constraint, and then you're feeding a positive input to help with that, to kind of keep the flow going on a consistent basis. That's cool. So what inspired the name, The Contractor Fight, and what does that represent to you?
The fight is between your ears. It's the way we think. And every one of us has it. This is just specific to contractors, but we all have a battle between our ears. And that's really at the root of why we named it The Contractor Fight, that you got to win the war between your ears if you want to win in business.
And your podcast is very well received. What have been, how do people find it? And then what have been some of your favorite episodes and interviews on your podcast?
Well, I want to say, I'm looking right now so I can give you the exact number. We have, as of 2 days ago, we've done 925 episodes. And it's It's a great show. You find it anywhere you listen to a podcast. It'll just type into Google Contractor Fight Podcast or whatever your podcast app is. But favorite episodes, man. We do so many. I can't just give one or two, but we recently done one, did one that was on the keys to success with working with your spouse. Mark and Michelle Bunker, they've been in our community for several years, grew the crap out of their business, went through really hard personal health issues. And they've kind of become the grandparents of our group. They love up on everybody, and it just oozed out of them in that recent episode. I mean, I'm always fired up to talk to people that are in our community because they kind of give a inside baseball look to everything. And, I've interviewed so many people, but the ones that always stand out the most to me are the ones that are just the normal everyday contractor that's grinding like we all are, and trying to win. And they always drop some sort of a nugget that just makes you reevaluate the way you're showing up. And I like interviewing people that in a selfish way, meaning how are they going to help me? Right. Cause I get to talk to so many cool people just like you do on your show, right? Like having a podcast is one of the best personal development things I think you could ever do, is being the host of a podcast. Cause you get to pick people's brains and it's free. So,
yeah. So what's next for the Contractor Fight? Any new projects or initiatives that you're excited about?
We had a period in business where we were several times a year releasing new things. And that's a mistake that I think a lot of businesses make. And I made that mistake, right? So this past year and going forward, we are really leaning harder into our Battleground program. I always talk about, like, if you want your business to grow, the first thing you got to make better is your cheeseburger, right? If you're a restaurant, and you don't have a great cheeseburger or whatever your meal is, then you're never going to have a full restaurant. And it's easy for us to go, oh, here's the cheeseburger, but people also want chicken wings, right? And then people also want this, and people also want this. In fact, this Mile High Profit Summit that we're doing this year, it's the last one we're doing because we decided that we want to take the 8 months of focus and attention and money and, the $500,000 we put it on. We want to put that into our Battleground community and supporting and helping those people grow at a higher level because we believe that has more impact. Now, as far as our other events, we'll probably do some smaller regional events and stuff, but doing the big one with 500-600 contractors, we're taking it off the table now. I woke up one day and I said, you know what? We have too many things that are going on. And, it's like, if you got all your excavation contractors here, right? It's like most, I'll use a general contractor example and you guys, you can reword this for your community. How's that? All right.
Sure.
GCs go, we do everything. The most successful GCs go, we do bathrooms for left-handed midgets. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, the more niche you can go deeper, not wider, you will be more profitable. So whatever that means we only do excavation for recreational swim ponds. Okay.
Yeah.
And then you can become known for that thing instead of, it's so hard to market broad and wide, but when you go, here is my lane, and I'm going to go deep into that lane. All the content that I create, it's going to be around that lane. Yeah. Now you'll still get leads for other things and you could cherry pick the ones you want to do, but I think you really have to plant your flag and go, what do I really want to be known for? And you'll find that as you build that brand and you niche down more, the profits will follow because people always pay more money for the experts. We have a lot of people in our community that are in the landscape industry, excavation people, this and that. And, I'll tell you hands down, the guys that just do like koi ponds make more money than the typical landscaper. It's like going, I'm not going to, if I'm a consumer and I have a knee issue, I'm going to go to a knee specialist, not my general practitioner. So I always encourage people, try to be that specialist.
Yep. And I have excavation clients that have been part of the Contractor Fight, which is one of the reasons I wanted to reach out to you. And they got nothing but good things to say. So it's obviously working. Well, I think
and let me cut you off here real quick on this note. You guys that are moving dirt with heavy equipment, you have a gold mine when it comes to content creation, because people watch that stuff. What you guys do is so cool. I mean, I don't know if you remember this. I don't remember the name of this, but man, it had to be 20 something years ago. There was a videotape, that's how old it was, and then it was DVDs series that came out that sold millions of dollars worth of footage of that parents would put on the TV and the kids would watch it. And it was guys moving dirt with heavy equipment. Like right. There's just something cool about that. And I think those you that run your own businesses, if you're not creating a lot of content, explaining what's going on, give us a tour of what's going to happen on the project and why you did something a certain way. Your cool factor is going to go up because what you guys do is so unique. It's so different. And so I just want to encourage everybody, like, build your brand and tell those stories of every project you're on. You should have a video guy out there. Okay. And I don't care if it's a kid with a damn iPhone. All right. It doesn't have to be highly produced and stuff, but I just think keep showing up in people's feeds, doing cool stuff. You'll get more eyeballs on you and it will build your brand.
So true. So listen, guys, that was a super hot tip because the most successful excavation business owners I know, they do have a video guy following them around, doing the drone shots, doing all that. So yeah, awesome. Tom, I truly appreciate it. This was awesome. Wealth of information here. And thank you for giving so much. Thank you for your time and appreciate it. Very
Scott,
cool.
I appreciate you having me, man. Thank you.
Yep, my pleasure.
Hey there, excavation pros. If you enjoyed today's podcast, make sure to like and subscribe to our podcast and channel. Leave us your feedback and let us know how we did. And hey, if you're interested in taking your excavation or septic business to the next level online, make sure you visit excavationmarketingpros.com today and take advantage of our free resources and mastermind group for excavation and septic industry professionals.